Hello and welcome to another Sydney Direct here on Dukascopy TV with me, Natalie MacDonald. Now, Tuesday's RBA interest rate policy. No change, no surprise. But what could traders be eking out from this market event? My next guest, Ric Spooner of CMC Markets, is here to tell us more. Okay, so Tuesday, no change from the RBA. Not really that much of a surprise, but what headlines or perhaps markers of future policy could traders take from Governor Glenn Stevens' statement?
Look, I think the key takeaways were that rates are not going to change and that that's likely to be the case for some time. The key sentence in the statement is probably the last one, which says words to the effect of that on present indications, it's likely to be prudent to maintain interest rates as they are for quite a while yet. The statement painted a background of moderate economic growth both internationally and here domestically. Inflation likely to stay between 2 and 3%, kept there by ongoing very moderate wage growth. And all that against a background as well, or in the context, if you like, of recent speeches by Governor Stevens, which have really in effect said that he doesn't think there's a lot more to be gained by cutting rates now, that they're low enough to support economic growth and borrowing if business sees it fit to start borrowing more and consumers see fit to start spending more. So it's really just a matter of waiting even until that happens. And also the other ingredient in it very much is governments. It's up to them now, the ball's in their court really, to bring in some of the reform measures that could help improve the macro or micro background to the economy and also to run a good fiscal setting.
Now, RBA Policy Day on Melbourne Cup Day, how did that influence market response?
Look, I'll defend my market colleagues by saying really no difference. In fact, the Reserve Bank has on several occasions actually made rate changes on Melbourne Cup Day. So trading desks are well and truly equipped to respond to circumstances should they change on Melbourne Cup Day. I'm sure there are many, possibly including myself, who wish that the RBA changed their policy on having a meeting on Melbourne Cup Day, but they're pretty austere in that regard and showing no signs of accommodating those punters amongst us in that regard.
Moving on then, CBA have suggested a no-change policy until possibly August 2014 from the RBA. Where do you sit on this?
August 2015, I think probably did. But you look central. Yes, I think that's the most likely scenario myself. Internationally, we've got a situation of moderate economic growth, particularly in China, which impacts on Australia. We may have seen the worst of commodity price declines in terms of percentages, but it's highly likely, I think, that commodities are going to remain low or lower for a while, which would be a negative for our economy. No sign of increasing inflation. If anything, the risks are in the opposite direction with inflation of it getting lower, so no reason for the central bank to do anything in that regard. It's true that we did see a very pleasing increase in retail spending in the statistics released here this week, so that's a positive if continued, but there are a lot of offsetting negatives, including the forecast drop in mining investment and a pretty tight scenario as far as government spending is concerned. So certainly well into the second half of 2015 before there's any prospect of a rate change, I think.
What could then a more low-key 2015 from the RBA, what could the subsequent impact be? If we look at housing, for example, something we talked about previously, could this perhaps encourage potential sellers to put their properties on the market?
Well, look, overall, I think a scenario of ongoing low rates is a positive for the property market, but it's true that we have actually seen an increase in supply in recent months. Part of that's seasonal, but with the spring selling season. But yes, higher prices have certainly brought sellers out of the woodwork. But as far as the overall market's concerned, particularly or especially, I guess, in Sydney and Melbourne, the situation is that there are even more buyers and sellers who have been attracted by low rates. So we've seen stronger property prices in those two capital cities. Broadly speaking, though, it wouldn't surprise to see property prices at least flatten out a little bit as supplies increased, and perhaps with some nervousness about the international scene. But in the longer term, I think we've got ongoing population growth, an existing shortage of housing, and the likelihood of low interest rates, and all those are very supportive, I think, for the property market in the longer term.
Rick, great comments. Thanks once again for your insight today.
That's a pleasure, Natalie.
Ric Spooner there talking to us today from CMC Markets office here in Sydney. Coming up this week, I'm going to be talking employment data with Katrina L of Moody's Analytics. For now though, it's goodbye from me.